Okay, welcome to our expert roundtable. Topic is RPO, and for this segment, we were going to focus on client satisfaction. And John, let's start with that topic by asking the question: are the clients satisfied?
Well, I think it depends on how you define the client. And we just recently completed a survey, and what we found was that when we asked the question, is recruiting better, the same, or worse than a decade ago, the HR people thought it was much better, but the hiring managers and candidates thought it was worse. So there appears to be a growing disparity between the HR people and their sense of satisfaction versus the people who are actually involved in the hiring.
Okay, what are you seeing out there?
Well, I think that's probably right. And I think with the advent of social media, we have an 800-pound gorilla in the room in the fact that it's a completely transparent world out there. So candidate dissatisfaction is going to occur when they get 30 different calls from 30 different headhunters representing the same job. So I think that's a bit of a problem.
Or no calls at all.
Or no calls at all, or no callbacks, or no customer service, basic customer service on that side of the equation. And in fact, we're seeing evidence of some people pulling their profiles down off of LinkedIn because they're getting either no service or too much service. And again, recruiting really matters again. Really old-fashioned, good customer service-related recruiting really matters in this technology world.
So Larry, as an advisor in the space, what are clients measuring, and what should they be measuring?
Well, value for fees, rather than just cost. What's the value you're getting for the fees that you're paying? But more importantly, most historically has been centered on the HR function, or who was internally handling recruitment within HR. And that's typically the individual that would get surveyed, questioned, trying to satisfy them because they're paying the bills. Mm-hmm. And you want to keep the person paying the bills happy. But when you look at it, as you said, John, who's the customer? Mm-hmm. And the customer's the candidate, it's the hiring manager, and they're not typically brought into the process. That's going to start evolving because the C-suite's getting more involved, they're hearing more of the problems, and they're going to push that initiative.
So okay, so you stole my next question, Larry, which was, who is getting involved at the C-suite level? Maybe John, you can talk to that.
Sure. We're seeing more senior level executives, and it's essential to involve them early in the process and keep polling, even if it's informally, throughout the engagement. Every single RPO deal that I've ever seen gone sideways has had great metrics and unhappy executives.
Right. So Dave, if you think of a scenario where you had stepped into a client scenario, you weren't the first solution provider. They were with someone else, they were unhappy, so there was one or two or three things missing there. You had to kind of come in, mop up, and save the day. What are the most common areas of dissatisfaction?
Well, in fact, that's very timely because Everest just reported that 500 of these contracts are up for renewal in the next 12 to 24 months. So that's going to be a question on most savvy buyers' mind. What we've experienced is what Larry was talking about is dissatisfaction with the service, to put it so simply. Even if some of the results are there, the metrics may bear out a good story, but when you go in and interview the customer, they're dissatisfied. It wasn't the right type of hire, and I can't underscore that enough. Hires are not all equal. And today, in a very precision view of the world, our customers are looking for the right hire. And the level of dissatisfaction in the previous provider in that regard is usually the number one cause.
And in fact, the 500 contracts that he's referring to, many of them were won by being the lowest cost provider.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the business model. The HR people wanted a lower cost, so the provider said, fine, I'll give it to you at a lower cost, and then they under-resource it significantly. Well, by natural sort of cause and effect, how do you under-resource something and exceed expectations?
Okay.
You also have to be very careful about what performance metrics become in place and driven by the client. The client, whatever metrics they drive, they're going to get a behavior out of that. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that can be a bad behavior. You don't always want to go down a road of trying to get the bad behavior. You want to get the value for the fees that you're trying to search for this client.
So I just want to get back to the C-level, because I found a direct correlation, hopefully you agree, with the amount of C-level involvement and support and the ultimate success of a relationship. Who should be there, David? Who really, beyond HR, who should be there?
Well, I mean, certainly the chief people officer should be there at the C-suite. In technology-dependent companies, the CEO better be there because we are in a sold-out market. Most of our companies are in high-tech or technology-dependent online retail organizations. And those CEOs are very aware of what's going on in recruiting. They're driving their business. They're betting their business on the future of their ability to out-innovate their competition. And so those people are involved. I think very soon you're going to see the rest of the CEO community become involved, because I think these unemployment numbers are very deceiving, certainly in specific skill sets that the company needs to survive and thrive.
And we've seen the lead sales and marketing executive has the biggest hammer in the company every single time, and they're almost never involved in this process, but they'll be the reason that the contract will go sideways.
Okay, good point.
Yeah.
So parting advice, Larry, for those viewing this segment here who are thinking of outsourcing RPO, all or part of it, one key thing they should look for in their service provider that may not be intuitive to them.
Well, a service provider that can offer good governance, I guess, from the standpoint of being able to meet with and help drive their business strategy. And they have to be able to meet with the C-level people. They have to be able to encourage and make it happen. And at the same time, help the client understand who are the real customers inside the organization, so that we involve them in the process and get their feedback. Because if they're happy, if those customers are happy, sort of like a happy wife, happy life, well, the hiring manager and the candidate, those are the wives.
Okay, all the stakeholders.
Exactly.
Super.
And look for the providers that have access directly to the CEO, because at the end of the day, and I'm sure David's the same way, every single one of our clients is extremely important, and the senior level people have direct access to me always.
Great discussion, gentlemen. Thank you very much.